We've got some big news. We're going to be talking about Disney Genie Plus coming to Disneyland. We've got some big executive changing coming to Universal, even more than we had last week. Oh my goodness. Trams are back. Is the magic back at Disney World now? Is it? I don't know. But we got all that and more coming up in this episode. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome to the Drop Podcast. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Jonathan, and like I said up front, we've got a lot of great topics to talk about. But before we get into it, let me introduce you to my co-host, Sean. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing, Jonathan?
I am doing fantastic. I'm glad that we're back for another podcast.
I am so excited.
Yeah.
I am.
I had a lot of fun on the last show. Our last show was our first show, so if you haven't seen it yet or checked it out yet, go ahead and check it out again. You know, it did pretty well, so I am excited to be back and get into it.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. All right, so this first topic is going to be about Disney Genie Plus. Let's get into it. Disney Genie and Disney Genie Plus is officially launched at the Disneyland Resort in California. Genie is a free itinerary planner that helps guests navigate through their day with personalized schedules and recommendations to help get the most out of their Disney theme park day. However, the system is most recognized for its premium service, Genie Plus. This service replaces the former FastPass Plus system with a newly redesigned premium experience that costs $20 per guest per day. For more information about this Genie and Genie Plus service, by the way, you can check out our previous video we released about the service. That'll be linked down below. The Genie system has been formally unveiled at the Walt Disney World Resort back in October of 2021 to mixed guest reviews. But with the history of the system in Orlando, Sean, how do you think that it will perform at Disneyland in California?
You know, it's so funny, which is one thing I'm not going to say many times today, because I said that so many times in the last episode. All I can really say is I personally actually have not used Genie Plus yet, or Genie, or any of those fun things that have been recently introduced at the Walt Disney World Resort. I can say I have used Max Pass at Disneyland Resort.
Yeah, it's very similar.
It's very similar, and I really enjoyed it. I was able to schedule a large amount of rides between both Disneyland and then also Disney California Adventure in the same day, and I realize it's obviously much different as far as the geographical landscape at that resort, because both those parks are literally, I think they're across the Esplanade.
Oh, yeah.
It is a fun,
Something
fancy
like
word.
That, the Esplanade.
I think it's the Esplanade. Someone recently told me, and I can't remember. But it's nice.
Furiously leave the comment down below about what it is.
Like, I think it's the Esplanade. It's something.
Okay, something. Yeah.
Something with an E. And it's nice because you can actually just walk back and forth. You know, obviously at Walt Disney World, you can't walk anywhere. You have to drive or take a tram.
Well, I mean, you can.
You can.
It's just
it would take you like
long.
a year. It'd be your whole vacation. Would
Disney
be a walk.
forced me to walk. Sorry, this is a side note. Disney forced me to walk between EPCOT and Hollywood Studios twice now. Did I tell you the story about the first time? Okay, this is, we're going to go on a tangent here, and I'll let you get back to your thought in just a second, but this is part of the podcast now.
Yes, it is. It's critical.
Yeah, so I was with some friends that had never been on the Skyliner before.
Yeah.
And we were at
Disney Skyliner.
The Disney Skyliner.
Yeah.
And we were at Hollywood Studios for the day, but a friend of mine had never been on it, so I was like, let's go on the Skyliner and catch Harmonious and then take the Skyliner back. So we walked up to the Skyliner. The Skyliner said that on the way back it closed, so the way to Epcot closed at 10:30.
Yeah.
But the way back closed at 11.
So this was the station at Disney's Hollywood Studios.
Yes, the station at Disney's Hollywood Studios closed it up at 10:30 to depart.
Yes.
But the returning line closed at 11 p.m.
Okay.
And we asked a team member or a cast member up front, and they confirmed, yeah, you're good. If you go to EPCOT, you will be good to come back. That's what they told us. And so we're like, awesome. We left. We did the show. We saw it, everything. We're coming back, and we're in line, and the cast member's yelling, oh, this only goes to the resort. It does not go to Hollywood Studios.
You're at Epcot.
Excuse me? And so, of course, then we go over to the friendship boats, and we're like, well, we'll just take a friendship boat back. And they're like, oh, well, you know, the boats close too. So they're only going, you know, so we had missed, like, this close. We had missed the friendship boats.
The friendship boats. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Aww.
And that is now the second time that has happened to me. And I made the mistake the first time of not asking, just assuming, like, oh, you know, they're like, Disney wouldn't do that to their guests.
But they did it to you.
So they did it to me. And then the second time I learned from that mistake, and I even asked several cast members. So you can walk from park to park at Disney World. It's just is like 2 miles.
And no one actually really likes to do it.
And no one wants to do it.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry for that detour.
I'm sorry for you. That sounds so horrible. I would have cried literally in the parking lot.
It was a lot. It was like
that sounds like you got your steps in.
Oh yeah, I did.
You closed
definitely
all
did.
the rings on your Apple
I actually
Watch.
walked more than a half marathon that day.
I believe.
Not even joking. Yeah.
Really. That sounds so terrible. I really am so sorry for you. But
it's a story to tell though. It was fun. It was fun.
We're gonna laugh about that, I'm sure, in the next few episodes. But no, you know what? I will say it's nice there. I mean, I haven't used it here. I'm glad they brought it back there because I'm sure the next time I visit, I'm probably going to use it.
Well, there are some changes from MaxPass.
From MaxPass to Genie Plus.
Genie Plus. Yeah, it's essentially the same exact service that we have here. There are some changes in the sense of, like, over here, one of the added bonuses for Genie Plus is you get, like, some AR filters that you can use on your phone. Where over there, instead of the AR filters, you get unlimited PhotoPass downloads.
Oh, wow.
So they get it a little bit better than we do. And with the selected individual attraction add-on for the Lightning Lane, here we have 2 rides in each park that you have to pay for. Over there, there's only 3 total, and that's Rise of the Resistance, Radiator Springs Racers, and the Spider-Man attraction.
Oh, wow.
So for those, you have to pay. And the other difference for that is here, the price limit goes up to $15. Over there, the price limit goes up to $20 per person per attraction.
Yeah.
So there are some slight changes, but for the most part, it's the same exact system that we have here. So, and that's a little different than MaxPass because MaxPass was like...
It was a flat rate.
It was a flat rate, but
day,
it was adding on to FastPass. It made FastPass better. Mm-hmm. This is just FastPass, essentially.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they killed MaxPass and then they just put a price tag on FastPass.
Yeah.
Kind of. So...
Well, I mean... You know what? A lot of people are upset over over Genie Plus in general, and I understand that. And I mean, it's all a very tricky situation. It's weird because you could argue at like the Universal Parks, Express has been around, I believe, since the beginning of those parks.
Very close.
Very close to the beginning.
They actually had a Fast Pass system at Universal for a few years, where it was like a free system like Fast Pass.
Because their Express, it's like $80, or it could, like, I was at Universal Hollywood back in August, and I think it was $130 for me.
Yeah.
In addition to my day pass ticket.
Oh,
so that's remarkably expensive in comparison to
very expensive
Genie Plus or whatever, or the Lightning Lane, however you want to, acquire one of those special passes. So, I mean, I see both sides to it. It is true that it is more expensive to visit the Disney parks, but I guess it's more expensive, I feel like, at the Universal parks to have priority access to attractions. So, I mean, you could, I guess, balance it either way.
Yeah.
I'm sure Disney's probably more expensive. It is. I know it is. But, it is just a weird trade-off, and it's a weird change. It is.
Well, yeah, there are some pros and cons to those systems.
Yeah.
One of the pros with Express Pass at Universal is that, like you're saying, it is more expensive, but you get direct access to the line.
Yeah,
where
whenever.
If you have Express, all you have to do is you walk up to that ride, you show them the card, they scan it, they let you in. There's no booking the reservation and coming back in 2 hours when your reservation is. It's like, no, you just walk up and you scan it.
At your leisure.
And, at your leisure. And you can do that at any attraction. And those attractions won't book up. Where at Disney, sure, you're paying $15 here, $20 at Disneyland. Sure, you're paying less, but you can only book one reservation at a time, unless 2 hours, unless that reservation is more than 2 hours out. After 2 hours has passed, you can book another reservation. But it's all reservation based, and those reservations do fill up.
That is true as well.
So, I honestly actually prefer the Universal system over
the Genie
Plus. But that's also because the price makes it a little bit more exclusive. Therefore, you see less ramifications for the priority in line. A lot of the big issue with Fast Pass, the way it was with Fast Pass Plus, where it was on every single attraction and all that, the big issue with that was the Fast Pass line had such a priority that it actually backed up the standard line for so long. And the fact that everyone had access to Fast Pass meant that Fast Pass line was always full, which meant that the standard standby line was always backed up. And then after, when we saw the Disney parks without Fast Pass for a few months when the parks reopened, we actually saw the opposite of that, where there were massive lines, but the wait time was so short. Because Fast Pass wasn't a thing, Fast Pass wasn't blocking up that line. But the barrier to entry with Disney Genie Plus is so minimal that fans are, or the Disney park fans are upset that now you have to pay for it. But it's still so minimal that the vast majority of people are still paying for Genie Plus. So we're coming back to that point where those lines really do clog up the standby lines. Where the way that operations work at Universal, it's a little bit more exclusive, so you're not seeing such a long priority line. So like I said earlier, there's some pros and cons to both systems, for sure. But I don't know, with Universal, you actually do get you're paying a lot more. But that system is so much more beneficial than Disney Genie Plus. We've been seeing, a ton of different vloggers do videos where they're like, does Disney Genie Plus really make you ride so many more rides? And they're comparing a day with Genie Plus versus without it. And some vloggers, are only riding one or two rides more in a day.
I've seen influencers where they're all booked up.
All
the Genie
and they
Plus
actually ride less rides,
or there's just none, and they're just I'm gonna leave the park because this was a waste of money. I've seen that. It's all very tricky. One thing I will say with with literally 2 months ago when it was Halloween, as it is Christmas, of course, now. But one thing I did notice, which actually really surprised me, visiting Universal Orlando's Halloween Horror Nights event with our frequent fears, obviously, you and I both went many, many times.
All the time.
But one thing I noticed, which I don't think I'd ever noticed before, was that the lines for the Express was the longest I had ever seen it. And there were some houses where the line for Express was longer than that of the line for
The standby.
Yeah. And that was so crazy to me because I know how expensive their express is. So that, I mean, granted, I don't know what it's like on the daily. I can't assume it's like that. But it's interesting that I feel like we are moving. I feel like the theme park culture is moving to this space of everyone wanting to feel this sense of priority, which I completely understand. And it's a lot of people who come to visit the parks here are typically out of towners who are potentially coming, once in a lifetime or once every year or once every 3 years, what have you. So it's interesting, I guess, to see that change. Yeah. That was a bizarre dynamic for me, seeing such extreme amounts of express, because even for that, it's like still pretty expensive.
It's like $80.
It is, yeah. In addition to the park ticket per person, so it's a very weird. We're in a weird time.
What I've been seeing is that the theme parks have been growing in such popularity, which is great for the industry because that means that the more successful the parks are, the more amazing new attractions the parks are willing to put in. The budgets go up, the experiences get better. That's awesome. But because they're becoming so popular, the shift of the focus of the parks has gone away from a lot of like local attention, like how do we make the experience the best for the locals that come here all the time, to now how do we make the best experience possible for those people that are coming out of town,
from across the world,
literally. So it's becoming a lot more of an exclusive kind of thing, where it's, if you want to have a good experience, you need to buy this extra exclusive add-on, which makes it difficult for the people that live in that area,
or the locals,
for the locals to kind of have those experiences too. But
we want it all.
We want it all. We are so spoiled.
And you know what? Let me say this, and people are gonna hate me, but I'm just gonna say, it's funny because, and this is the last thing that's funny, I promise. But
we'll see about that.
I know so many annual pass holders who have been annual pass holders for some decades, like very long periods of their lives. And they do feel a sense of, I don't want to say entitlement, but this sense of almost like, I don't like that word, entitlement.
Superiority.
It's not, I guess maybe just this loyalty that they have to the parks, and this feeling of like, I've supported this company for so long. I come here, I love it. I guess there is this feeling of superiority that they deserve more. And I get that to certain extents, but I think it's hard because, unfortunately, as much as we'd like to think that's how this business operates, it's not. It's not based on loyalty or how much you give your life to these parks or how much you promote it or what have you. Whatever you do, unfortunately, at the end of the day, I think it is a business, and the House of Mouse is just looking to feed itself. It is, and I get that too, because that ultimately that is their goal, is to make money. But it's so going, I guess, back to this change of this priority line situation, Genie Plus. It is frustrating, and I get that. And for the annual pass holders who've been annual pass holders for so long, who have had access to free perks like Fast Pass Plus, which was really nice because it was just available based on, first come, first serve, which I was fine with as well. And and it could be argued that maybe we could probably go back to that. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we could. I don't know. I could be wrong.
It depends on how the system plays out.
But
I have heard rumors that Genie Plus is not performing as well as they expected it to.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, if it continues to not do as well as they projected, maybe there's a potential that they reevaluate the system.
Because we're at this point where you already have to schedule your day, sometimes months in advance, just to get access to getting in the park.
Into the parks, yeah.
If you are, of course, an annual pass holder. But even, to be fair, sometimes even just as a day guest, the parks can fill up and you may not be able to visit.
I mean, that's been a big frustration of mine lately. It's just been the reservation system, because I mean, like, of course, I'm coming from the perspective of a annual pass holder, but I have heard some horror stories of people who, they book a trip and they come out here and they buy day passes, but there are some parks that are unavailable on the day that they bought those day passes. So you're paying for a park hopper where pre-reservation system, that park hopper could get you into any park that you wanted, like the 4 parks that are there. But now it's like, well,
it's not available.
It's not available. Yeah. So your options are Animal Kingdom or Hollywood Studios. Which one do you want to go to?
Yeah. No, you're right.
So it is kind of frustrating, and especially from a annual pass standpoint, like the reason why you have a pass is so that you could just go whenever you want.
Yeah.
There will be days where I will have someone randomly text me and be like, hey man, you want to go to like whatever park?
Yeah.
And
EPCOT.
Yeah. Prior, it would always be like, you want to go to EPCOT, you want to like hang out at Magic Kingdom, because like those parks usually close pretty late.
Yeah.
But ever since COVID hit, the only parks that I've ever been like, hey, you want to like hang out at is Universal. Because you don't need a reservation to go to Universal, Disney, it is so hard for there to be that access, and that's one of the perks of having an annual pass, is that you can do that.
Yeah.
And it is becoming increasingly harder to do that. I think I've only been able to do that once in the last year and a half that we've had this system now.
Yeah.
It's just once being able to randomly decide, I think we're going to the parks today.
You know what? I will say it feels like, and I'm not like a theme parks forecaster. I don't, know all the, I guess, what is the word? The trends that lead to growth and, visitation at the parks. But I will say one thing I've noticed ever since the opening of the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, like with the Rise of the Resistance and the other ride I don't care that much about. What is it called? Smuggler's Run. It's interesting because it feels like there has just been this extreme desire of people of all kinds to just flock to these parks here.
Yeah.
And it does feel like more people... I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know the actual numbers, but I'd like to think it really is just because there's that many people visiting that they're being so limiting to so many people. That's the only logical explanation I could have for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
I don't know. But it's annoying. It's tough. I'm frustrated. I'm trying to be fair. Maybe I'm being a wimp. I don't know.
Well, I think that, I think it's fair to have criticisms.
Yeah. No, of course.
Like,
yes.
I
want to go whenever I want to go.
Yeah, exactly. If we're paying so much for a pass, we should be able to. It was
I think $650-ish for what for my
Which
gold. That's a lot of money. It is, to go anywhere.
Yeah. I will say, like, I think it is fair to have criticisms and to be able to voice your criticisms of the parks. But, the other day I went to Hollywood Studios with a group of friends, and, I've been very critical of Disney over the last 6 months or so, maybe a little longer than that. I've been very critical of Disney and the way that they're operating and the way that they're changing things. And I just don't think it's in the best interest of the theme park goers. But when I was there the other day, like the moment I walked into the parks and I was hanging out with my friends, it was like all of that faded away.
The magic.
And it was just the magic, and like that experience engulfed us.
Yeah.
And like that is what the parks are about. And so I think it's fair to criticize.
Yeah.
But I just say, like, speak your mind, speak your opinion, but don't let those things affect the way that we love the parks.
The way you experience it.
The way you experience it. Yeah. Like,
and what it
allow
means
it to be magical and allow it to take you away from this world for the time being. I love it. But to bring it back to Disney Genie Plus real quick, we'll move on to the next subject soon. But I honestly don't have too many issues with Disney Genie Plus. And I said this in the video that I made, like the informational video that I made about what is Disney Genie Plus. I actually don't hate the idea of it that much. The thing that bothers me about it, though, is just how complicated it is
to do it. And I understand that.
Yeah. There are just so many barriers to entry to even exist at a Disney park now. You know, like if you're just a casual fan, like the process of, okay, you bought a ticket, but now you have to get a reservation. Now that you're in the park, if you want Fast Pass, well, we don't just do Fast Pass anymore. Now you have to buy this Disney Genie Plus. But you have to buy it the day of, and you have to buy it when you're at the parks. Oh, and now that you have it, like, you can use it at every attraction except for this one. If you want to use this one, then you have to pay for this. And, oh, well, I know you paid for it, but, like, you can't just use it. You have to, like, you know, schedule your thing.
Yeah.
And sorry if we're booked up. Like, it's too complicated.
Now, even if you want to eat, I mean, that itself is so difficult.
Yeah, if you want to eat,
booking
the
a
other
dining
day,
reservation
I was at,
or, mobile order.
Yeah, you know, I was at EPCOT the other day, and the purpose of being there was get food, watch Harmonious.
Yeah.
And we went to Regal Eagle, and we were so excited, like, let's eat. And then we got there, and we were so caught up in, like, the experience and the magic that, like, we totally forgot, oh, right, we have to order on our phone.
Yeah.
So now we're, like, standing in front of the place and just, like, staring at our phones like idiots. And, like, but we're, like, standing off to the side, and, like, it was such an awkward kind of, like, I don't know, like I
snap out of the fantasy.
Yeah. And I wish that they would either remove the mobile ordering or, like, at least let you go and sit down inside of the restaurant while you mobile order or something. You know, like, the fact that we were just, like, having to stand on the side of the street doing it was very strange. But
you feel like you're intruding.
Yeah.
Even though you're literally paying to be there. So it is awkward. No, and I get that.
Yeah. But that's enough about that. I feel like we talked in circles about the parks and touched a little bit on Disney Genie Plus.
We have a lot of feelings.
We have a lot of feelings about the state.
We're going to cry the second the camera gets turned off.
It's been very emotional. But yeah, we will turn it over to you guys. Disney Genie Plus, the state of the parks. What are your thoughts? Are you excited or kind of disappointed that Disney Genie Plus is now a thing at Disneyland? If you are a Disneyland local, definitely let us know what you think. If you've used Disney Genie Plus, how's it working over there? We would love to know your thoughts. But moving on, we are going to switch over to the other park, Universal, because there have been a ton of leadership changes over at Universal. So let's dive into this one. Following the news of Universal Parks and Resorts Chairman Tom Williams' retirement, the president of Universal Orlando Resort decided to announce that he will be joining the club as well. In just a few weeks, current president and COO will begin his retirement and make way for Karen Irwin to step into his shoes. Karen is the current president of Universal Studios Hollywood. This is what retiring chairman Tom Williams had to say. Bill is a legend in our industry and here at Universal. His passion for our business, for our team members, and for excellence has inspired all of us. Orlando team members know Bill has a constant presence in our parks, and I will always remember my frequent walks through the parks with Bill as we reviewed our business and, more importantly, built our friendship. Bill Davis was often known for his hands-on approach in the operations of the parks. With his retirement coming up soon, how does this affect your outlook on the future of the resort?
You know what?
You know what's funny?
You know what's funny?
I'll say it for you.
I thank you very much. Yeah. But no, so it's weird, and I obviously the viewers or whoever is listening to this don't really know my history with the Universal Parks in Orlando, but growing up in Central Florida, a really good friend of mine, her father was a manager at one of the restaurants in Universal Orlando. And so she would have surpluses of tickets, and we would go all the time just because it was so easy, it was quick, it was free, whatever. And so this girl, this friend of mine, who I'm still very close with to this day, she is actually currently a team member at the Universal Parks, and she's been there for like a decade. Wow. And we spoke prior to this podcast, of course, recording, but you had mentioned some things that you personally remembered of Bill Davis. And it's interesting that you say that, because when you said that, it actually sparked some memories within myself about this man, and I guess how personal he was with the team members and things similar. And it's interesting because this girl, this friend of mine, who remains unnamed, she just always had such pleasant things to say, and everyone had that kind of same rapport with him. And so, I don't know, it's weird, I guess, to think about it all changing now with him leaving, but I can't imagine, I don't know, I'd like to think it'll be a similar experience, whoever takes his role. It's hard for me, I don't really know, I can't really speak. It's sad, but it's another corporate position that I feel like, to a consumer or a park goer, whichever you'd like to identify us as, I don't know how much we'll notice that difference personally, but I could be so wrong as well.
Yeah, well, I actually do remember Bill Davis quite well. I mean, I worked at Universal for a handful of years as just like a normal team member, working in the food industry. But then also I worked in entertainment for a little while. I was a scare actor for a bit. And what's funny is, I remember him less from like entertainment. I never really encountered him in the entertainment side. But as like the bottom of the food chain type of employee, like you'd think it would be the other way around. But as the bottom of the food chain employee, like I actually had quite a few encounters with him where, he was famous for his Saturday walks through the parks. Every Saturday morning as the park was opening, he would walk through the parks and make sure that everything was good, make sure that the team members were having a great morning. There were stories of him, checking, like just randomly walking into like the break spaces of the different rides or the different restaurants and talking to the employees and the team members and asking like, hey, what can I do for you today? And like, just randomly showing up and bringing donuts to people. Like, that's just the type of guy that he was. He was like a genuinely nice person, but he just loved the parks so much. Like, you could tell that it wasn't just a job for him, that he genuinely cared. And he wrote this beautiful goodbye letter to the team members. And in that letter, he talked about how blessed he was to be able to see his grandchildren grow up at the parks and see just how much like the team members had a role in the way that they got brought up and all that. It was a very beautiful letter and all that. But I remember seeing him genuinely care about like the lowest of the food chain type employees. Like
everyone.
Yeah. Everyone. And that's just something that is very rare for like a executive type person to do. The fact that he was like hands-on and actually in the parks, and like he would always eat lunch at City Walk, and he would always talk to guests, and he would always talk to employees. He was just like an amazing leader. And he was always present for big events in the parks. Whenever a new ride opened, like, most recently, he was all over social media because when Velocicoaster opened, he was there opening day, and there was like the big meme going around on social media that Universal was building a churro stand, because Universal doesn't like, Disney likes to announce their projects like 10 years in advance. Yeah. Like, hey, we're going to build this thing 10 years from now. But Universal likes to build it and then announce it right before it opens. So they were building the Velocicoaster. Everyone saw the Velocicoaster, and Universal hadn't announced anything. So the meme became, oh, they're just building another churro stand. What is this? Oh, nothing. Look away. It's just another churro stand. Yeah. So it was like a running joke in the community. And so opening day of the Velocicoaster, Bill Davis was there literally eating a churro as the thing opened. And then for all the guests there at the park that day got a free churro to celebrate
the opening of the
Velocicoaster. Yeah, it was great. And that's just the type of guy that he was. Like, he was very involved in the parks and knew everything and cared enough to be present and to have a face for the parks. And he's just going to have some really big shoes to fill. So I wanted to share just a little bit about him on that. But this news also talks a lot about his replacement, Karen Irwin. Personally, I don't know too much about her. She is basically the same position that he has, but over at Hollywood's park. So she definitely has experience, even though the park in Hollywood is a lot smaller, a lot more contained.
And it's a single park.
It's a single park, where this is a whole resort that has hotels and is currently building a third park.
Fourth.
Fourth.
If you count the water park.
If you count the water park.
Volcano Bay.
A third normal park, a fourth park total.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, Disney has 6 parks.
I just want to be specific, because that's how they advertise
it. That is how they advertise it.
To be
fair. So this is still going to be a big step up for her. I don't know how her relationship is with the team members or the just the teams over at Hollywood. So I haven't heard a lot. All I know is she has some big shoes to fill. And I hope for the best with her. And to your point, I actually think that if the transition isn't 100% smooth, I actually feel like the guest will see quite a bit of a difference at the parks, because Bill Davis was just such a great leader. Not only was he like a great morale booster to the employees there, which goes a long way, but he was also very hands-on with the development of the parks. Like, because of him that Hogsmeade got built. It was because of him that Diagon Alley got built. And Hogsmeade alone was such a big pivotal role, played such a big pivotal role in the history of Universal. Yeah. Like, Universal was broke. They didn't have the money to compete with Disney. And they built Harry Potter. It was such a success. It turned around the attendance. Like, attendance was plummeting. They built Harry Potter, and ever since they opened Hogsmeade in 2011, every single year, attendance has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point now where they just opened up Universal Beijing, which never would have happened without Harry Potter. They built Diagon Alley, which never would have happened without the original Harry Potter. The Hogsmeade land has been built, 4 times now throughout the world. Just an amazing feat. And it was because of Bill Davis's leadership. He was there when J.K. Rowling came knocking at the gate. Literally, she had a meeting at Disney, didn't like the way that it went with Disney, and so she drove down the street, knocked on the door, and said, "Let me meet with your leadership." And Bill Davis had a meeting with her that day, and it was because of that meeting that Harry Potter got built. Yeah. So it was because of his leadership. And he was there for the opening of Volcano Bay, which was another huge step for Universal. So many of the resorts. Universal Orlando has seen so much expansion under him, and I know that it's just one resort, but Universal Orlando Resort is the mothership for the entire global Universal Parks brand. Universal Orlando Resort is what Disneyland is for Disney. Everything is based in California for Disney. Right now, everything is based in Orlando for Universal. And Bill Davis has had such a huge role in that. And I really wish the best luck for Karen Irwin. I will definitely be rooting for her and paying close attention to the things that happen. I am very excited for the leadership. Bill Davis's retirement is well earned, well deserved. He spent over 15 years at the company. Great leader. But one of the things that I wanted to bring up with this wasn't just about Bill Davis, wasn't just about Karen Irwin, but a little bit more of just how much executive leadership change is coming to Universal, because I don't know if it's just a coincidence or like how this played out, but in the last podcast that we did, we talked about Tom Williams stepping down, who he was the Universal Parks and Resorts chairman over all of the resorts worldwide. And so he retires, and then now this next podcast we're talking about Bill Davis, like the next guy saying he's out too. I don't know if that's just a coincidence, but because so many people are leaving, there's now like a power vacuum, so people are getting moved up. So we have Karen Irwin coming over. There's another person filling her role, obviously. But there was an article that, let me see if I can just bring it up real quick. This is great podcast planning here. But there was an article talking about how they are creating a role called the President of the Pacific Rim Universal Parks and Resorts, where I believe this guy is named Tom Merman. Is he a merman? Tom Merman?
How does it spell?
Mehrmann. Merman.
Yeah, I guess so.
Tom Merman. Yeah. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I don't know. Merman. Right. That's probably actually how it's.
I don't know.
Merman.
Yeah.
The current president of Universal Beijing Resort. So they had a president for just that specific resort. They're actually bumping him up to a newly created role of president of the Pacific Rim Universal Parks and Resorts. It's kind of like a mouthful of a title. It reminds me of Pacific Rim, the movie. All I can think of is big battling robots. But yeah, it's very strange that there's so much power shakeup at the parks. I mean,
well, yes, that almost feels like that's not funny. That feels like consolidation.
It's hilarious.
Is it not? Because they're essentially merging all of these roles into a single role.
Well, yeah. So
is that what is happening? Correct.
So I'm actually not too sure about that, because I don't know if this is so it's saying it's a newly created role. I don't know if it's consolidating roles or if it's a new role above. Like, I don't know if
to all of those existing roles.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if there's going to be a president. I would assume so, that there's going to be a president at each park.
At the park level.
Like president of Universal Beijing, president of Universal Singapore, president of Universal Japan. Yeah. And then the person over them is going to be president of Pacific Rim Universal Parks. Like, I would assume that's how that works, but I'm actually not too sure. It's very strange that they're changing up leadership so much right now at Universal. I'm hoping, I'm choosing to be optimistic. I'm hoping that it's because the parks have been doing so well that they are able to create more roles, more positions, and expand the parks. I'm hoping that this is because of an expansion of the parks. We're expanding here in Orlando. They're expanding with Beijing. Universal Japan is the world's busiest theme park that is not a Disney resort. Yeah. So Universal is just seeing so much growth right now. So I'm hoping that it's because of that. So I'm hoping that there are going to be some great things coming to the parks. But it is a little concerning because it's, I have loved the way, for the most part, there's been decisions that have been made that I haven't been a big fan of. Yeah. But for the most part, I've been a big fan of the way that the Universal parks have been led and managed over the last 10 years or so. And it does make me a little nervous hoping that direction doesn't change too much.
Are they going to pull a Disney?
Are they going to pull a Disney? Are they going to start changing everything? Yeah. I don't know, but like, does that concern you at all?
You know what? That's actually, until you said that really wasn't a thought in my head. But at the same time, it is interesting because, like you said, there is a lot of growth happening at the Universal parks around the world, and I don't know, but there's also a lot of retirements happening on at least the Central Florida level, as far as you said, Tom Williams, and then Bill Davis.
Davis, yeah.
And that's just them coming to the end of their careers. I'd like to think, I'm assuming willingly. So as far as on the global scale, though, that is very interesting. Maybe it's their way, like by creating this role, it's their way of uniting all of these international forces, I guess, to head in a similar direction, if they're not already doing that. But I don't know. I'd like to think it is to just continue to maintain such an exciting brand that people love so much, that I also really enjoy.
Yeah.
I've only experienced the North American Universal parks. I've not been across
I've only
the world.
Experienced the Orlando
parks.
Right
now. And but I don't know. I'd like to think it's just their way of continuing it all under the same brand and keep it uniform.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't know.
You know, yeah, for sure. And I think the best thing to do right now is to stay hopeful. You know, like the people that they're promoting, like we talked about this a little bit in our last podcast, the people that they're promoting to take up these roles seem very qualified and very experienced and have had a lot of history with the Universal parks. It's not like they're just experienced, but their experience with Universal specifically, and specifically in this industry as well. So I'm choosing to be very optimistic, but the question is for you guys, what do you think about this news, all the leadership changes? Are you excited for the future? Does this make you nervous for the future? Let us know down below what you think about the retirement of this legend of Bill Davis. Just let us know what you guys think. And of course, I just want to say thank you to Bill Davis for the 15 plus years that you gave the Universal Parks. You have made a huge impact in so many people's lives, and we wish you the best retirement, of course. But now we are moving on to the next topic. We are going to make this it's a little bit of a fun one, a little tongue-in-cheek. Following Destination D23, Disney official social media channels released a first look at the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser featuring Imagineer Ann Morrow Johnson and ABC television actor Sean, I'm going to mispronounce your name, Sean, I'm sorry. Not you, Sean, other Sean. Sean Gambrone, something, I don't know. Sorry about that, Sean.
There's no phonetic spelling.
No, yeah, it's horrible. I'm horrible at this. Anyways, however, after a large amount of disappointed fanfare, Disney has decided to pull down every piece of content related to this first look off their social profiles. Although there has been no official statement made by Disney, the reactionary decision seems to be based off the overwhelmingly negative reactions to the content. Did you have a chance to watch the first look? And if so, what are your thoughts? And what do you think about Disney's decision to remove the first look off the internet?
So I don't believe I saw this specific content when it was first unveiled. What I can say is I did watch the D23 event, the D23...
Destination
D23. They did a live stream on YouTube that I watched.
I
Disney
also saw that.
YouTube channel. And I saw everything that Josh D'Amaro did. And it was very exciting. I really enjoyed his presentation. I know we spoke about this presentation.
He has a great on-screen personality.
And it seemed like a really good time. I know the specific content you're referring to. It was featuring a celebrity from an ABC show.
Yeah.
Someone, I don't know. I didn't see it. I will say that I know one thing that's been recurring with even just tonight's podcast is the, pricing and I think things similar. And, this is a very expensive experience the Star Wars Star Cruiser, and I know a lot of people have been very critical about it. And granted, I've not experienced it myself, so I can't speak to how incredible of an experience it is. It does seem that some were unimpressed, or maybe they felt like this lackluster with what they saw in those videos, and at least that's my understanding of the situation. And I mean, I will say, even the stuff Josh D'Amaro did, it didn't seem life-changing, but it did seem cool. But I don't know, it's, I guess it's up to the park goer or guest experiencing the experience.
I think it's very interesting that Disney decided to pull it off their social media. Even with a lot of fan backlash, we haven't really seen Disney be reactionary too much.
Retract.
Yeah, like a lot of it, they've just kind of like let it sit, and they'll stop promoting it in certain ways. Or change strategy maybe, but we've never really seen them retract too much. What's wild to me is that there has been so much backlash on this that, they, like Bob Chapek even did an earnings call with the shareholders where he very proudly was like, we've already sold out the first 4 months of the Star Cruiser. And it was like a big talking point. Well, the thing was, they actually didn't sell out. They sold out reservations, and a lot of those reservations got canceled after this.
That content was
released.
The internet,
So if you look online right now for reservations for the Star Cruiser, you can actually book within the first 4 months now, where you couldn't have before, because a lot of people saw this content, weren't so impressed by it, and they started canceling their reservations. So honestly, I think that's probably why they pulled it, because they realized, oh, this isn't just like bad, like people don't just not like it, but it's actually actively hurting us. Like people are canceling their reservations. I saw it.
Because negative comments, they do live there forever, unfortunately.
Yes.
And they're right under the content. It's true.
Yeah. And even with YouTube removing the dislike counts, you can still see the comments. But I did see the content, and I will say it was very cringy. I think it was mainly very cringy because of their talent choice, and just the way, like, it was
like
direct.
The presentation
of it was very infomercially. It was very like staged, and it wasn't staged in a very subtle way. It was just the like very gimmicky, beat you over the head with just like you could see every single like you could see them reading the script.
This is the best hotel ever. Like it was
and it was just like it felt like you were being sold something while you're watching it. It did not feel like a genuine, we're so, like, oh my gosh, we are walking into Star Wars. A lot of the content for Galaxy's Edge when it was first being marketed was that. It was like, we are such Star Wars fans, like, oh my gosh, we are walking into Star Wars right now. Like, you saw people genuinely have an amazing reaction to it. Where this, it was not that. It was... You could tell that it was very scripted. It was not a genuine like reaction. It did not feel like they were so excited to show you. It felt like they had to sell you something. And just watching it. Yeah, it felt like a pitch. It didn't feel like something that would interest the fans. And I think that a lot of what they were showing felt like I saw a lot of comments that said this looks like a great ABC outer space sitcom show. That doesn't mean it looked like cheap. Like I thought specifically I thought that the video didn't look cheap. It just felt off-brand. And to a lot of Star Wars fans, that's really off-putting. Is that this feels like a really great spaceship hotel LARPing event, but it doesn't feel like a great Star Wars experience. And I think that's why there has been such a big backlash with the fans. And, typically I don't appreciate it when companies like retract things, simply because I feel like when you have a project this big, you should definitely have a marketing strategy, a plan. You should go into it confident, knowing that you have a plan. And it just kind of bothers me when companies are reactionary and pull things. But in this case, where it is such a big thing, where we saw fans not just have a bad backlash, but people actually started pulling reservations, saying, you know what, if this is what it looks like, then I don't want to spend $5,000. I don't want to spend $6,000 on this event. So I'm just not going to go. And in that case, I kind of understand Disney pulling it. I hope that there is something that they can do to fix this. I don't know if a better trailer would fix it, because I know that this was really, like, there was a lot of cringe to it, but I feel like a lot of the backlash isn't necessarily about the quality of the video. I feel like a lot of the backlash is about the quality of the hotel.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
The product.
Yeah, it's the product. And I don't know if that's something that they can fix. So I don't know if pulling, I don't know if inevitably pulling the video will do them any good. It might just have made the situation worse.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, has this changed your excitement or perspective of the hotel at all?
So, I guess it maybe kind of has a little bit, because what I saw Josh D'Amaro did, I think seeing it, like what it actually is, that's so premium, that's so expensive. It's like, I feel like we're in this world now where all of the media, like everything is a product review. Like whether it's the car you're buying, the phone you're buying, your MacBook, your camera, you can see people experiencing things prior to you purchasing them.
Yeah. And
I think that's, as consumers, that's where we're moving in that direction, whether it's reading review or seeing someone interact with something prior to us ever even physically handling it in our hands. And ultimately that is what's selling us, I feel like, as consumers. Now, I mean, I can't speak for you, but I feel like the last 5 purchases I've made, I bought them because someone on the internet, a complete stranger, said they were amazing, and they showed it. And I physically, not in person, witnessed it, but I saw it via the internet.
And I think that's great. I think that the consumer definitely should have, the consumer should definitely be informed going into a big purchase like that. So I think that's great.
Well, yeah, and so I feel like it's unfortunate because I think what they thought was their method of doing that similarly, it does seem to have potentially backfired. It's interesting because you did say that, like, when you look at some of their early commercials for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, like, you saw this, like, little kid thrusting into oh my gosh, what is the name of that? I'm not a Star Wars fan, forgive me. Where did they go when they thrust in this
you mean like going into light speed?
Light speed, yeah, hyperspace. Oh my gosh, when they go into light speed, like,
where they're punch it, Chewie.
Yes,
pull the hyperdrive.
Yes, like, you see that, and you kind of get this, I guess, this trailer or this immersive video where, yes, it's like you're seeing a fantasy, and I get that, and it's literally a supercut highlight reel that's meant to sell you on the fantasy. And I think they might have just gotten too raw with it, and it just kind of, I don't want to say killed the project, because obviously people are still really excited for this. I'm arguably not as many as previous to this specific circumstance, but there is a potential that they just, maybe they oversimplified it with what they did put out. But I also know that internet hate goes a long way, and it kind of goes back to, now granted, of course, they they were their own vlogger, they were their own reviewer,
Yeah.
they were their own person selling the product. And so obviously it can't help but be remarkably biased in that situation. And of course they were literally paying a professional actor to take part in that video, obviously, who's employed by ABC, which is owned by the Walt Disney Company. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say they like killed it. I think it's just they're in a really weird spot, and the fact that they pulled it, I don't blame them, because I feel like because I've been in, unfortunately, I can say from experience, being in situations similar, putting out content that may or may not have positive feedback, and people above me saying pull that. Yeah. Because it you know, especially if they're seeing direct effects on their sales. Yeah.
I just feel like the marketing and the design, like, so the actual production team that like the two production teams, like the production team that built the hotel, and the media production team that is marketing the hotel, are very out of touch. Like, I feel like they're building it and marketing it for two different fan bases. I feel like the hotel was built for the Disney parks fans, where it is more about the Disney park experience and the experience of living at a space hotel. Like, that's what it was built for. Where the marketing is marketing it for the Star Wars fan. If you are a Star Wars fan, you have to stay at this hotel. But I don't feel like the hotel was built for a Star Wars fan, because you can tell that the hotel was not built from a design, like, aesthetic to match up with anything we've seen in Star Wars. Like, so much of this hotel, like, this is where I think the disconnect is. So much of the hotel doesn't look like anything you've seen in a Star Wars movie, or seen in a Star Wars comic book, or a Star Wars TV show, or whatever it is. And so much of it does not really gear itself towards the hardcore Star Wars fan, but instead it gears itself a lot more towards the people that Disney knows will spend a lot of money at a Disney resort, which is understandable. You know, they already have a clientele that has been proven over the past however many years that Disney's been doing this. Yeah. So why not build something for them? So I understand that, but I feel like a lot of the issue here is that they're not marketing it as that. They're marketing it as, if you're a hardcore Star Wars fan, you will love this. And the issue is, hardcore Star Wars fans that know what they're talking about, that love Star Wars and have grown up with Star Wars, are seeing this and saying that's not Star Wars. And it's not that I don't think the experience is going to be bad. I think you might have an amazing experience at the hotel, but I don't think that experience is geared towards Star Wars fans. And I think that is where this big disconnect is coming from. And I think that's where this big pushback is coming from. And honestly, I don't know how to fix that. I don't know, obviously it's not my responsibility. I don't have any ideas of how they could fix that.
Make it better, yeah.
It's easy to say that they should have just built it for Star Wars fans to begin with, you know, but the issue is, the hotel's already built. They're not fixing it. They're not changing it. You know, we could spend hours saying what they should have done or what they could have done or what we would have liked to see, but the issue is, they've already built it. The hotel's finished. It's done. It is what it is. It is what it is. You know, even the presentation that Josh D'Amaro did, where he was doing the lightsaber training thing, it looked like something that was not fun. It didn't look like it would be fun to match up a laser pointer with a lightsaber. You know, oh, the laser's pointing over there, touch. Oh, the laser's pointing over there, touch. It didn't seem fun. It felt like, okay, I'll do this for 20 seconds and be like, all right, cool. And it looked like something that was built for Instagram. It looked like it was something that was built to flex on your friends and say hey, look where I am. It didn't look like it was something that was built for the actual experience. Even the thing on the bridge where they were showing them shoot the TIE fighters, that's a really cool 2021 version of Galaga. You know, that's cool, but I don't know if that's worth $6,000. Yeah. But if you're a hardcore Disney Parks fan that loves the immersive experience of staying at a Disneyland or Disney World resort hotel, it might be worth the money for that experience if that is who you are.
Yeah.
But as a Star Wars fan, like, I can have a lightsaber at home and like pretend like and have just as much fun. I feel like, you know?
I know.
Why do I need to spend $6,000?
It's not immersive enough. It's not a fantasy. It's not something that is so remarkably life-changing or so remarkably different from your everyday life that it transports you into this world that is so beloved by, you know, those who follow Lucasfilm and the Star Wars franchise. I get it. No, I 1,000,000% I get it. Like, it's not enough fantasy.
Yeah. But anyways, guys, let's turn this over to you guys. What do you think about the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser? What did you think of the video? Did you see the video? Did you enjoy it? What were your thoughts, your criticisms? We would love to know down below. Do you agree with me that maybe there's that disconnect of the two departments? What are your thoughts? I would love to hear what you guys think down below in the comments. Of course, we'll be responding to those comments as well. So let's start a conversation, guys. But now it is time to move to our very last topic of the evening. A little piece of the magic is coming back. Since March of 2020, nearly 2 years ago, Walt Disney World has seen the closure of the parking lot trams. With large crowds fully returning to the parks and long walks from the cars getting even longer, Disney has finally listened to the outcry of their guests and have announced the return of tram operations. Trams will resume operation only at the Transportation and Ticketing Center at the Magic Kingdom parking lot this month. However, trams are set to return at the remaining 3 parks sometime after the new year. Sean, what are your thoughts on this? Do you feel like trams are an important part to the Disney World experience?
I do. As someone, I do. So I enjoy the tram. It's nice. I will say sometimes it feels like the walk to the entrance of any of the 4 Walt Disney World parks can be almost outrageously long. I understand those massive parking lots are necessary, but the reality is they are parking lots. They're not garages. It is flat plains that can go for miles and miles and miles and miles. No, but no, it just can go.
You're in denial.
Literally, you're in denial if you don't think the trams are necessary. They are. It's been a rough 2 almost years walking, especially in the summertime when it's 5 million degrees in like Central
You're
Florida.
walking through the dark asphalt.
Yeah, it's
ridiculous.
Just intense, and unfortunately,
it's dangerous.
It is dangerous. A lot of people will first because they always say go 15 miles per hour, not 50.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Everyone goes 60.
Yes,
they don't even do 50. It's I don't know. I feel like it's time. I understand that. In fact, I couldn't even imagine trying to sanitize all of the rows that make up the trams at the Walt Disney World parks. And I believe that was part of it, why it disappeared in the first place.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
because how could you sanitize that many,
but they sanitized Pirates of the Caribbean, and there's 70-something boats on that ride?
I think with that, though, I don't know, maybe because it stops at a dock and it gives them, I don't know.
But they really only did it once every 2 hours. It wasn't like they did it every
single...
Yeah. So I honestly don't know why they didn't do that. Honestly, I think that the reasoning was probably because of the staff shortages. Part of one of the articles that I was reading was that they were beginning the training process, and the reason why all 4 parks weren't returning right now was because they were having to rehire and retrain all these people for this thing. So I think honestly it was staffing.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why trams so I understand why trams were gone initially. It was because there was such a limited capacity that you actually didn't need trams. Like for the first few months of the park's opening, I remember I parked so close to the front of the transportation and ticketing center that like it would have been pointless to have a tram. Like it would have been faster to just walk instead of bored, have to do the spiel, like drive around. Like it would have been faster to just walk. But a few months after opening, when they started increasing capacity, it very quickly got to the point where you were parking way back in the back where you would normally park, and now you're having to walk a mile or whatever that it is. Like I was just there a few weeks ago, and I parked all the way in the back. It was like, I don't know where it was. I think it was like Peter Pan or something. I forget. But it was like all the way back by they have that like big mound of dirt. Looks like a mountain.
Yeah, it's like a landfill.
It's like a big land. Like, I don't know. They have a landfill in their parking lot. It's like Disney magic. Here's Trash Mountain. It's the fourth mountain.
And like all the Nissans.
The fifth mountain.
There's like all those brand new cars that are just parked. Have you seen that? I don't know if they're still there, but there was a lot of just brand new Nissan cars that still had like the wrapper on them.
Interesting.
Like, it was really, I think they were just freshly delivered from wherever.
That's interesting.
Manufacturing facility they're from.
I don't know. Maybe they were like, I don't know. That's interesting. But that's the fifth mountain at the Walt Disney World, Magic Kingdom. It's Trash Mountain, and it's in the parking lot. Better than Splash Mountain.
No Genie Plus required.
Yeah, no Disney Genie Plus required. But yeah, no, like, excuse me. But I had to park all the way back there, and it was such a long walk that it took 10, 15 plus minutes just to walk. And there were parts of it where I like couldn't see around the corner because of that like big mound of dirt or whatever it is. Like I couldn't see around the corner, so I was actually kind of scared that maybe like a car would drive around, because like you were saying, that people will whip around those like through the parking lot. So I was afraid that because they don't do a great job at like especially in the middle of the day. Like I was leaving early, so I was leaving at a time where a lot of other people weren't, so there wasn't a whole lot of parking lot staff, and so they don't do a great job at like shutting down the roads or telling you where to walk or like where is it safe to walk. So, and I was walking where like the cars were like pulling out to like leave, so I was afraid that like what happens if a car just so not only is it ridiculous that you have to walk that far, but it's dangerous because of the heat, and it's dangerous because you're walking through a parking lot where no one knows where they're going, and people, even though they don't know where they're going, still drive 50 miles an hour. It's crazy. So I am shocked that they haven't brought the trams back sooner. I have actually been very critical of Disney because of that. Because it's like, if you're not going to have parking garages, you need trams.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Like, Busch Gardens has had their trams, and I don't know if SeaWorld has trams or not. I don't think so. But Busch Gardens has a tram. Yeah. Busch Gardens has had their trams operating since literally they reopened. Mm-hmm. Why can't Disney? I don't know. So I'm glad that they're...
I'm glad they're back.
Yeah. When do you think we will see the return of the trams at the other parks, though? That's the big question.
Gosh, I'd like to think sometime soon. And one other thought I didn't even get to say, but I came, no, but you're fine. But what's even like more annoying about anything in Magic Kingdom is the fact that not only are you getting to the transportation and ticket center from your car, from that point you then have to take either the monorail or the boat
or a bus or something,
whatever, what have you, to get into Magic Kingdom. So that journey, it actually was a journey from your car to the
and at the end of the night when everyone's at the end of the night when everyone is trying to go and it gets backed up, it literally can take you like an hour and a half to get back to your car. Just to get back to your car.
Yeah. So it was kind of obscene at a certain point.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that if it did have to come back limited as it is, where only one park can have it, I'm happy it is at Magic Kingdom and the Transportation Ticket Center.
It needs it the most there for sure.
But I don't know. I'd like to think sometime soon after that. I can't imagine they would even bring it back to one park without the planning in place that it would closely follow behind at the remaining parks. That's typically how Disney is. I feel like, but I don't know. Typically, but anything can happen. I will say that, and I've seen that, so anything can happen.
Yeah, I think that they'll follow pretty quickly. The article does say that the official article does say that they're planning sometime after New Year's. That's a little bit of a disappointment that we have to wait that long.
Yeah.
But I do understand they have 4 parks and quite a few trams at each park. Like, it takes a lot of manpower to make that happen. So I understand that there's going to be a big training process and a lot of hiring, a lot of training. It's going to be a big process to get that done. So I totally understand them doing it in stages. I just don't like the fact that it's very open-ended the way that they said sometime after New Year's. So hopefully
we want more commitment, Disney.
Yeah, a little bit more commitment.
Yeah.
We're gonna work on your communication skills, please. But yeah, no, I think that it'll be returning soon. So I'm just glad that they're back. I said it very jokingly in this piece that a little piece of the magic is coming back, but genuinely, like, I know that was tongue in cheek, but like, genuinely, I think that the trams are a significant part of the magic. I mean, you pull into Disneyland or Disney World and you park and you get on that tram, that's the first thing, like, we are here.
It's your first ride.
It's the first ride of the day. And you hear the greeting of the person on the back of the tram welcoming you, and you hear the Spanish translation to keep your hands in arms, and you just know I'm home, you just know. And you contrast that to you pull in the parking lot and you're so excited. You're at Walt Disney World, now walk a mile.
Yeah.
Just to be able to walk 10 more miles that day at the park. Yeah, and it's just it's difficult, you walk
it's
so
first
far.
world, but it's difficult. Yeah.
But if you're paying, this was what has really bothered me over the 2 years almost that they haven't had trams. There has been so much, and I talked about this regarding the parades in the last video. There is so much missing,
officially coming back.
Which are officially coming back. So you called that, by the way. You said, we need Festival of Fantasies coming back, and then literally the day after we filmed that.
That's when it was announced.
They announced it. You spoke that into existence.
I try my best.
That was great.
To manifest.
Yeah, so, we're manifesting this.
Yeah.
But, it's there's been so much of the magic, so much of the experience been missing, but yet the price has not just changed, it's even gone up.
Yeah.
And so you're paying a premium to be at Disney
to get less.
Yeah. I think that if you're paying that price, there's no excuse to not have trams, especially if you're not building parking garages and all this stuff, so I think it's about time, Disney, that you bring back the trams. I'm actually really excited. I enjoy the trams.
Yeah.
I like the trams quite a bit.
It's very breezy.
It's breezy.
Yeah.
It's easy. I love it. But again, let's just turn that over to you guys. Are you excited that the trams are back? What do you think? Is it long overdue? Did you miss the trams? Are you okay walking the extra 3 miles? Hey, you get your steps in when you walk 24 miles to get to the Magic Kingdom. Are you excited that you don't have to walk 83 miles every time you go to Disney World now? Because I'm excited to not walk 150 miles every time I have to, walk from my car to the parks. It's going to be great.
It's a lot of miles.
It's a lot of miles. I get my step. You don't look this good with trams.
You don't.
So,
you don't.
Are you guys excited? Let me know down below. Let's get the conversation going about those trams, because I am excited to have trams back. Yeah. But now we're going to transition over to the discussion. We're going to transition over to Sean's therapy session.
Yes.
Where we are going to be discussing, we like to do at the back half of the show, the back end of it, to just have the rear end of the show, the butt end of the show. We like to have a discussion section where it's just free flowing. We have a topic, but like no guide rails. We just go at it. And today we are letting Sean rant and give his thoughts. I don't know. He actually loves it. You know, don't let he's actually a teddy bear on the inside. Don't let his mean composure scare you away. He actually loves Harmonious, so don't listen to what he's going to say. But we're going to talk about the new nighttime spectacular that is at Epcot celebrating, well, it's not really celebrating the 50th.
It premiered with the 50th.
Yeah, it's new for the 50th. The new nighttime spectacular Harmonious, aka this section is going to be Sean's therapy session. Yes. So go ahead, talk about Harmonious.
Our hour has begun. Let me just get comfortable. But no,
we do have tissues if you need it.
I know.
We have tissues if you need it.
There will be some tears shed. So, and let me please forgive me for those who are listening to this podcast who, yes, you're just being force-fed our emotions and feelings, and we're two whiny AP holders. We get it, But granted, we love the parks, and that's why we're here.
Yeah.
To talk about them. And I love Epcot. I love Magic Kingdom. I love all of it. I love all of it.
And they love you. We love you, Sean.
I love you, Jonathan. But you know what? So I guess my perspective of Harmonious going into it when it was first announced at the D23 Expo in 2019.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the presentation. I actually was fortunate enough to see it at Disney Springs in the AMC. It was part of a special media invite thing where we got special access to the panels, even though we were, of course, on the East Coast, not the West Coast. And I remember this incredible presentation first discussing this outstanding new nighttime event that was coming to the Walt Disney World Resort that was going to feature this larger-than-life soundtrack, these all-new show set pieces, what have you, that would take over. What is that called? The
showcase.
The World Showcase Lagoon.
The World Showcase Lagoon. Yeah.
That was going to just completely mystify guests. And it seemed like this really larger than life announcement that I was really, honestly, I was very excited for it. This was then followed up with at the Odyssey Center at Epcot, where they created this immersive experience, which I do not know the name of. What is it called? It's like the 3D theater.
Yes.
Oh my god.
I know it's basically the model that they had at the expo. They brought it over to the
Epcot.
the center.
Yes.
And it's like it's the showcase, the preview showcase or something like that. So where they do the projection mapping on it's beautiful
video
we do have a few vlogs where we showed it off. So if you guys want to see what we're talking about, I'll try to show some footage.
Click around our channel.
Yeah, I'll try to show it off in this video here, but definitely watch some of the older Epcot vlogs for sure.
Well, so as part of that experience in the Odyssey Center, you would see this larger than life, just incredible presentation where you would see a number of floats or set pieces just that take over all of this waterway, and these massive fireworks, just these massive water projections, what have you. It was just supposed to be this massive, incredible sight to see that it actually seemed like it was going to be a bigger event than what is typical for Magic Kingdom, with the nighttime spectaculars there, whether it's Happily Ever After or the new current nighttime show that's running for the 50th anniversary, which is what is it called? Oh my gosh, I don't like that show either.
Oh, I was literally just talking to someone. It's not Happily Ever After. It is.
That's what the former show.
That was the former show.
I don't care enough to know because I don't like it.
It starts with an I.
It's
right. To the Googles.
To the Googles. This is a side note.
Yes. Enchantment.
Enchantment. Disney's Enchantment.
Yeah.
So in my perspective, and that's, again, I need to explain my perspective.
I don't know, even though, like, sorry, I'm looking at this right now. Even though I'm looking at it, Disney Enchantment just sounds wrong. Like, it doesn't sound like that's the correct answer.
You know,
but
for Magic
it
Kingdom,
is,
but that's it.
Yeah, it is. Anyway,
so,
sorry, continue.
No, you're fine. Well, so, like, Harmonious, it just seemed like this incredible, just new, innovative performance that was going to just shake all of us park goers who are diehards, who really genuinely love and care for all of these nighttime events, these nighttime spectaculars that really are the cherry on top of the sundae that is your visit to the Walt Disney World Resort theme parks. And, you know, I realize over the past few years, there have been so many cuts. EPCOT was actually supposed to be transformed quite dramatically throughout. And then the reality is a lot of money got cut, and for good reasoning, and I understand that. And it feels like some of that money that was cut might have got cut with Harmonious, because for those of you who have not yet experienced it, who have not yet been to Epcot to see all these new set pieces or whatever you want to call them that are in this lagoon all of the time, they never disappear. They're there 24/7. There's, to be like really frank, and maybe even, you know, kind of picky or annoying, there's not many. There's like a few.
There's like four barges, and then there's that main circular, and then there's the Stargate Atlantis that is in the center.
The center, which is the main showpiece throughout the entire show. And it's a little lackluster for me, the entire experience. And I feel like it was misrepresented in all of the, I guess, trailers or promotional footage that was put out in promotion of this.
Well, it's because they, like, everyone was freaking out that they were going to be blocking the sight lines. Like, they ruined the sight lines of Epcot World Showcase. But they said, like, no, like, we're going to have the fountains going throughout the day to hide the barges, and it's going to look like a fountain in the middle of World Showcase, so it's going to add to it instead of take away. And I remember when they were building the barges, I did a vlog at Epcot and showed a lot of, like, the progress on it, and I was a big advocate. Like, people were freaking out, and I remember saying, guys, I don't think it's as bad as what everyone's saying, because, like, look at this concept art that they have.
Because there's not that much there. Literally, there's only that little bit in the center. And then what else really is there, in all honesty?
Well, yeah. So ultimately, even without the fountains, I don't think it is as bad as everyone was freaking out about.
As far as, like, protruding the sight lines across the waterways.
Yeah, like, when you're in those countries, you're focused on those countries. You're not focused at looking at China on the other side, or, like, you know, like, you're not.
No, of course.
But I will say that I do feel kind of bad about, like, sticking up for Disney Imagineers in that video as much as I did. Because I was like, look at the concept art. Look at all this promotional material where they're showing these fountains and stuff. It actually looks really nice. It looks neat.
Jonathan, are you retracting?
I am retracting. Yes, I am. Got him. But the reason, like, I feel bad about that is because they don't have the fountains going. Like, they promised that they, like, one of the things that they were going to do to make up for having those barges there 24/7 and not moving them during the day was because
I'm sorry, that was so loud. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But it was because they were going to do the fountains, and it was going to look really pretty throughout the day. And where is it? They still haven't done it.
Regardless of that, which I don't even care about. The show just isn't. It's just lackluster. There isn't a lot of fireworks. There isn't a lot of visuals. It's just really. I feel like it's only maybe 25% bigger than the globe that used to be in its place for the show,
Illuminations.
And to me, I remember that globe was so small, and I feel like this new arrangement of barges, set pieces, I don't feel like they're that much bigger. In all honesty, they are. I realize that.
Well, they're just permanent. Is the thing. Like, they would bring that globe in and out.
Yes.
where these just sit there.
The only issue I have is I feel like we were oversold on something that they just didn't deliver. And the reality is, it's just really not. I just feel like it's a lackluster experience, and I'm disappointed with it. And
Interesting.
I don't feel like it's really that amazing. And I feel like if you're someone who, towards the end of the run of the previous show, Illuminations, who, you know, you kind of just, oh, this is the old show that we love, but it's really not fantastically overwhelming, or it's not super visually just grabbing all your senses, you know. I feel that way about this new show, and I'm struggling with that because it's not enough for me, and I feel like it's really not that premium of experience. I feel like they promised something and they did not deliver, and I feel like it just feels like we got half the show, maybe a quarter of the show they promised.
Interesting.
And I'm struggling with that severely. And I remember watching it and thinking, like, this really they actually premiered another show prior to this to build all of these pieces, these barges and everything. Yeah. For what reason? Because what they gave us really is not that spectacular. And it's really disappointing. And yes, again, like, I don't know what the budgets were that were established prior to COVID, and then what the amounts of money they ended up with post-COVID.
I did hear, again, this is not Disney official confirmed, but a lot of insiders have been saying that Harmonious, I blanked on the name for a second. Harmonious was one of the projects that, because that idea came specifically from Bob Chapek.
Yeah.
That was an idea that he had that he really wanted seen through. So I have heard from quite a few insiders saying that Harmonious was one of the few projects that actually didn't get a budget cut. And a lot of the reasoning for why a lot of those other EPCOT projects were getting pulled, and the reasoning for why Enchantment wasn't a huge step up from Happily Ever After, was because those were the areas that got pulled so that Harmonious could have its full budget still. So there's again, this is not Disney confirmed, but there's a lot of speculation saying that Harmonious actually didn't get budget cuts and instead cannibalized a lot of these other projects so that it could be exactly what they had planned. For me, so I saw the show for the first time just the other day. And I went in with not huge expectations because for every 10 people I talk to, maybe one of them says that they really like the show. And the other 9 people are like anywhere from the spectrum of like, it's not bad to I hate it, and anywhere in between. So like there's been a lot of negativity, but even amongst that negativity, so many different varied opinions that I just kind of went in not having big expectations, but honestly just not knowing what to expect at all because everyone has been thinking something different. And I saw the show, and I will say that as a nighttime show, I enjoyed it. I don't think that it lives up to its potential. I think that, you know, what you were saying, I think that, like to add on to what you were saying, I feel like those barges have so much amazing capabilities. Like when the show is at its peak and the arms are coming out and there's lighting effects happening and all the fireworks are like shooting into the center and doing so many amazing things. I feel like there's so much potential that those barges have to do amazing show scenes. The fact that they are covered in LED screens and they can project whatever the heck that they want to put on there. The fact that they have as much lighting on there as they do. I feel like there's so much creative possibilities that they could have that they're just not utilizing. And I feel like ultimately there's so much more that they could be doing with it that they just aren't. Like, it has the capabilities. It's just, for whatever reason, they didn't program it to do anything super extravagant, which is kind of a shame. I left it enjoying it, but feeling like, they could have done a little bit more with it. I do want to say that I think one of the reasons why I felt so positive about it, like, so I'm not saying it's a 10 out of 10 show. What I'm saying is, for a nighttime show, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty decent nighttime show. It's definitely better than average, but I didn't leave with my jaw dropped or anything. That's kind of where I sit with it. Like, my mind wasn't blown. I enjoyed it. But I'm like right there with it. I will say that part of the reason why I feel positive on it, I think, is because there are so many people, especially people that I know that I have actually physically talked and spoken to about this, that were so in love with Illuminations. Like, Illuminations was something they grew up with. I mean, that show went on for like 2 decades, like more than 20 years. It's like 20 something years. It went on for forever.
I think it was like 21 or 22 years.
Yeah. Went on forever.
Yeah.
So this was a show that people grew up with. And it's the only show that they've known from EPCOT. And I honestly don't have that experience with Illuminations. Because EPCOT was never a park that I loved growing up. Like, it was a park that, honestly, I think I probably only ever went to EPCOT once or twice when I was a kid, because it was definitely geared more towards older kids. And by the time I got older, my parents couldn't afford Disney because Disney was getting more expensive. And Universal was geared more towards young adult, like teenagers and young adults. So instead of spending the money on Disney, my parents took me to Universal. Like, so I kind of missed that age where EPCOT was kind of like really geared towards you in my youth. So growing up, I was never a huge EPCOT fan, so I didn't grow up with Illuminations. Now that I'm older, I do find myself falling in love with EPCOT again, or just more. But Illuminations was only something that I only remember Illuminations from my recent memories, like over the last 3-4 years. And I feel like that's part of the reason why I'm okay with Harmonious, is because I'm kind of going in with not a blank slate, but kind of a blank slate. Like, I remember Illuminations, but I don't have this childhood like nostalgia for it. But with that being said, about Illumination, or about Harmonious, I actually really do appreciate that, there is this big push at the Walt Disney Company to cram IP into every single corner of their parks. I'm not a huge fan of that mindset, but I do understand that that's the mindset and that is something that they're going towards. So with that being said, I do appreciate that even though that's kind of what Harmonious is, it is IP and that is it. There's nothing really EPCOT about it. Like, there's, Figment doesn't show up in Harmonious. They don't sing any of the EPCOT songs from the past.
It's not even so much about the countries anymore. It's more about the movies and how they're represented in the countries, I guess. I might have said that backwards, but yeah. But,
I mean, so that's what I was going to say, though, is I do appreciate that the show isn't just, hey, here's all of the amazing Disney IPs that you love. I do appreciate that they took those IPs and customized it and specifically made it to represent the different countries from the different show, like the different countries around World Showcase. Like, I appreciate that there is still a little bit of EPCOT DNA in it, even though there's so much change coming to the park, and even though there's so much change in the philosophy of just Disney parks in general. I appreciate that a little bit of that DNA is still in there. And I will say that I enjoyed that. I was with someone when we saw this that was just literally like, she was almost in tears like the whole time, and she was just like, I love this so much, and like she got emotional during some parts of the show.
Yeah.
And you know, I was with someone that like grew up natively speaking Spanish, so during some of the parts of the show when they started speaking or singing in Spanish, like it really emotionally hit him.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so neat. I think that's probably one of the reasons why I appreciated the show, was because I was able to see it from someone else's perspective who natively, like their first language is another language.
Yeah.
And I can just imagine, like, you know, Disney World is, like we were saying earlier, it's becoming so less about the locals and more about the people who are traveling to Orlando to experience the parks. And I'm just trying to imagine the show from the perspective of someone who came here from one of these countries that are represented.
Yeah. But, you know, I will say, like, it's not even about the content of the show. Like, that's not my problem at all. It's just the size. And it's funny because, like
it should have been bigger.
It should have been bigger. And, like, everything I've seen, every piece of media, every press release, all of the stock animations that they created, showing a perception of what this show was going to be upon its premiere. Mm-hmm. I do not believe it lived up to those expectations. And I know you said that whoever these people are, which of course that is a rumor. It's very much a rumor. You know, I even still, like, I regardless of whatever happened, this show was so much oversold.
Yeah.
At least as far as the size of what it was going to be. Because physically, it does not exceed.
Well, I was surprised.
The content I think is good, but the size of it is not there. If you see any of those, even in the Odyssey Center, I don't believe that presentation is still there.
I actually haven't checked it out, so I don't know.
Like, if you see those videos, there's you can't even count how many barges and set pieces that kind of take over that lagoon or that waterway in those representations that are put out by Disney.
They make it look like it's some massive
so massive
thing.
And it covers every last drop of water, literally. And what is there is not a representation of that. I'm sorry. Like, it's just, it's not. And it's very lackluster.
Well, even in that...
They oversold. They did.
Even in that, they showed, like, these characters taking over, like, the LED screens like on
massive,
the barges.
Like, and super massive scales, which they're not.
And I was surprised at how little they actually used the LED screens on the barges. Like, there was only a few moments here and there where, like, the characters filled up the screens on the barges. So even in comparison to that marketing, I thought that it was very underutilized. Like, they could have done more. One of the things that I think is so... Okay, so I'm going to say this knowing full well that they're not going to do this.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that is so brilliant about these barges and the fact that there's LED panels and all the lighting is so customizable and programmable is that they easily could, make it larger.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't be a hard feat for them to add more animations onto the LED screens, or to add more fireworks, or to make the lighting more immersive.
Yeah.
Like, to add to the lighting presentation. It wouldn't be hard for them to do that. When I say that, I kind of think of the way that they pitched Smuggler's Run, right, was that it's all programmable, so they could add different missions to it in the future. And they said that was something that they wanted to do when it opened, but obviously they didn't do that, and now we're a few years into this and still nothing. I'm pretty sure that they said something like that's what they wanted to do with Mission Space when it opened, and where's that? So I know full well that what we have for Harmonious is what we have, and they're not changing it. But I think that what's one of the cool things about it is that, like, it would be so easy for them to do it. Like, they could do it.
Yeah. I don't know. But those are just my feelings. It's just, I feel like I was oversold and they underdelivered, and that I can't. I've seen too much. they've teased too much and not given me. And I don't know. I remember how people make me feel. I am truly a Scorpio, and I don't forget things like that.
Really?
Yeah.
So you don't think this show's going to grow on you at all?
No. In all honesty, I think I'm just so disappointed. I will say, like, yes, the content is good and all the emotions are there, but
I thought
I'm so undersold.
I thought the arrangement of the music was, I don't know if I want to say brilliant, but I thought I was very impressed with the way everything kind of blended together. Like the person who arranged the score and did the composition of the score, I thought they did a fantastic job with the creativity of
and you know what? And then, like, I guess, and this is a comparison that arguably is not apples to apples, maybe even apples to oranges, but like at Disney California Adventure with World of Color, that show takes up an extreme amount.
Oh, it's the whole lagoon.
It's massive, bigger than life.
Yes.
I don't know, like, a direct comparison as far as size to, the Waterway World Showcase at Epcot.
The World Showcase is, like,
it's bigger,
insane.
But I think seeing how much of the, I guess, space they were able to utilize at Disney California Adventure, and I think seeing all of the promotional advertising and press releases and animations and renderings and just the fantasy that was sold to me, I feel like they did me dirty. And it is what it is. And I think maybe that also has ruined this for me, is seeing World of Color and how they're able to utilize that space.
Yeah.
And then
see, that is interesting.
This is also, there's a lot of, there could be so many different perspectives in my mind that have ruined this for me. But I don't know.
That is interesting. I wonder if they'll ever consider adding fountains into the World Showcase Lagoon. Because, like, World of Color, that's all that is.
Yeah.
Make it something like Universal does something very similar for their shows.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if they would ever consider...
And that's quite large as well.
Oh, yeah.
And they use the
huge
buildings that surround the...
Yeah, they 3D project
there's
onto
a
it.
lot of elements in that. There are.
Yeah. But because that's what they're... doing with the circular barge in the middle. Like, they already have so much water projection on that circular barge. So I wonder if they'll ever consider the idea of adding in more fountains throughout the rest of World Showcase, just to kind of
expand on it.
Expand on it. I think part of the issue, though, is World Showcase is just so big. And there's viewing from that entire lagoon.
Yeah.
So whatever they do, you can't really block the view of that middle barge. Like, that middle barge is pretty integral. But I don't know. I mean, because those side barges from certain perspectives already kind of block that center barge. So I don't even know what they would do to expand. But I hope they do expand on it soon. I think it's a solid starting off point. But I agree. I think that they overhyped it a little bit. And I think that's probably where a lot of this backlash... Well, not backlash. Like, I haven't heard too many people, like, hate Disney for it.
Of course.
But the disappointment...
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of that is coming from. But, yeah, I mean, like, the reason why I asked if maybe this would ever grow on you is because I know that, like, a lot of Disney fans hated Happily Ever After when it first came out. Because it didn't live up to all the other shows that they had done. And now, like, that Enchantment is a thing. Like, we saw so many videos of people doing, like, farewell videos to Happily Ever After, people, like, crying during the last showing of Happily Ever After. Like, that was a show that was so beloved by the time it left. So I wonder... it's not even wonder. Like, I know that at least the vast majority of people that don't like Harmonious now, I know by the time Harmonious leaves, they're going to be in tears being like, oh, I'm going to miss it so much. Like, people are going to love it. Yeah, like, I feel like it's going to be something that grows on people. So I don't know. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts?
No, I won't be one of those people, but but no,
All right,
I know what you mean.
You're in history now, saying that we'll come back to that.
December 7th, 2021 at 10:45 p.m. Sean Sposato has stated he will never love Harmonious at Disney's EPCOT Center.
In 2 years, we will revisit this moment.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe if they gave me the show they promised me, then
if they update it,
if they just upped it, like give me the fantasy, I just feel like they just got in my personal honest opinion, it just feels like they've got some fountains that are really big and bulky, and they're in the center of the waterway.
And that's it.
That's really it, yeah. And then they got a nice soundtrack.
Yeah.
And some pretty projections.
I don't know.
Aren't even that big.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like there's so much that those things can do that they're just not doing with them.
And that could
even
be
as simple as the fountains. Why are the fountains not on during the day?
Yeah.
Why? They already work. It's not like it's an operational thing. Of course. They work.
It obviously work. You're right.
Yeah. They do the fountainy thing at night. Why not have it throughout the day? Like they said, I don't understand why, there are simple things that they promised that they haven't even delivered yet, let alone even the big grandiose things from the show that they promised. So I don't know. Hopefully we'll see them add more and up it a little bit. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this show. We just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you've watched or listened all the way through, guys, thank you so much. We just love that so much. We really do appreciate it. And if you've watched this far, that means that you liked the show, the podcast. So go ahead and consider subscribing and hitting that bell button to be notified when we do more podcasts. Because go ahead and sub. But because we're going to be doing a lot more of these. We had a blast doing this. And if you are listening on the podcast version, go ahead and and rate this podcast. Leave us some feedback. We would love to know what parts of the show you liked, what parts of the show that you didn't. This is a new show, so we're still kind of trying to figure out that formatting. And I know that fan feedback is going to be a big part of it. So definitely give us your feedback, the things that you liked, things that we could maybe possibly work on. We missed Trisha this week.
We did. She's going. Actually, I think she's going to Disneyland.
She's going to Disneyland.
Yeah, she is. So I think
I'm actually so jealous.
Yeah.
So jealous. So she's out there having fun while we're out here just wishing we could be there. We're but
unable to get reservations. I'm joking.
Right. Can you imagine if she goes all the way out there and she couldn't get reservations?
She's too smart for that. But I know
she is too smart for that.
Yeah, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. But she'll be back. So if you were missing Trisha, she will be back. We just want to wish you, Trisha, if you're watching, just have a great time at Disneyland. Yeah. We miss you over here. But anyways, that is going to be it for us, our thoughts, our opinions. And guys, remember, the conversation is continuing down below in the comments. So head on over there and leave your thoughts, comments down below. Sean, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast.
For having me.
Yeah, where can the people find you? And what are you up to? You up to anything?
You can find me on Instagram at Sean Sposato, and currently there is nothing too exciting to talk about, but I appreciate the ability to blog.
Yeah, of course. So go over there to Instagram and follow him. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Jonathan. Of course, you can find me on the socials at John Holt 96. I'm always up to some fun stuff. I am very active on this channel. We've got some great holiday videos coming out soon, so stay tuned. We have a bunch of holiday at the parks updates about to drop, so subscribe for that. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching, and remember, the adventure lives on. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.